Welcome to another Getting to Know Your Indiana Neighbor. And I've done all sorts of people, all sorts of occupations. All have had a major impact or have given back to the community in some great way. But I've never had royalty before. I've got it now. Maya Miller, Maya, welcome.
Thank you.
Maya Miller is the reigning Miss Martin County. And she also just had an incredible weekend this past weekend. And we're going to talk to her about that at the Indiana State Fair Queen Pageant, where she finished fourth runner up. And that's the highest of any Martin County queen before. But we'll get to that. But we're going to get to know Maya Miller a little bit since it is a getting to know. So Maya, let's start at a young age. Uh, your parents, any siblings? Tell me a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so my parents are Ken and Dana Miller. They're both state police
Both
officers.
state police officers.
Yes. And then I have three siblings,
Uh-huh.
Tracy, Kyle, and Trent. But they're all a lot older. I just got a new niece too
Oh,
from Trent.
congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
the two of us, or the three of us, I guess,
Yeah.
me, mom, and dad mainly.
So both state policemen. Any interesting stories about that? Having both the mother and father of state police, do they let you off a little easier? Do they harder on you? Friends get tickets, don't get tickets. Any stories there?
Yeah, no, I've definitely not gotten off any easier because of it. Because, they see the worst all
Hmm.
the time. So they're always expecting the worst out of
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So I've definitely had like more of an overprotective
Hmm.
family. But no, as far as tickets go, my dad, he does like he stops semis and does all that. My mom is a CSI.
Oh, CSI.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm sure it's nothing like the TV show, though, right?
I don't think so.
So where do they patrol? Where does your dad patrol?
They're out of Jasper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
but my dad, you'll see him at Lagodi all the time in his spots.
yeah. I can't go to Jasper without seeing a state police officer come toward me, and it's like, okay. Sooner or later they'll get me. All right, well that's very interesting. But you went to Springs Valley High School,
I
right?
did.
But you've lived in Martin County. Went to Shoals High School until when? Or
Um,
Shoals School?
Yeah, I went from Shoals from kindergarten up until
Hmm.
halfway through eighth grade, and then I transferred to Springs Valley.
And today we are at Indiana University Wells Library. Beautiful facility, but I had to make the trip all the way up here in the fog and rain, and it's worth it to talk to Maya Miller for sure. As a little girl, Maya, did you have the dreams of being a queen and participating in pageants?
Definitely not. When I was really young, I did out of the Shoals Catfish Festival.
Yeah.
I did some of the queen pageants there. I won one year as Miss Preteen Queen. I think
Okay.
I was 12, and
Hmm.
that was the last time I did anything.
So that didn't stir up anything into you to continue into pageantry. You were just pleased to get that.
Yeah, no, after that, I definitely was done. I didn't give it a second thought. I'd never considered myself
All
a
right, but
pageant girl or
but at some
anything.
point you did give it a second thought, and why?
Um, that's a good question. I think I kind of wanted to just push myself to do something
Hmm.
different and new. And I've always saw the Miss Martin County Queen pageant, growing up. My parents are good friends with Carol Harder,
Sure,
and that was always her thing, like
it
seeing
was.
that. And so I think I just kind of wanted to do that because I thought it'd
Hmm.
be fun and push me out of my comfort zone
Carol's
too.
sister Anne as well was very big into that. So we love the Harders for that, and still are. Carol is. So you not only pushed yourself into it, but you won it. So last
Yeah,
July, I had the honor to MC that. So got it and said, your Miss Martin County is Maya Miller. What went through your head?
it was so amazing because it was like all these weeks of preparation and it was finally worth it and it came true. Because even before then I'd spend 20 minutes every night. What are common questions that they ask you in pageants to kind of just prepare
Uh,
myself? And
did
when
any of
they
those, did any of those questions come up?
a few,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
actually they asked me, would you rather be Miss Congeniality or Miss Martin County? And
Huh.
a lot of people say Miss Congeniality because that means you're kind and all
Right.
that. But in my interview, I said no, I'd rather be crowned Miss Martin County because I think all of the qualities to be queen are also Miss Congeniality, among other things.
Mhm.
So it was just like kind of preparation like that that really got me
Yeah.
ready. And
You were very familiar with Martin County 4-H. You were a 10-year member, right?
yes,
So what was the interesting things that you did as a 4-H member?
so I never was a big livestock girl in
Okay.
4-H like everyone else. I was really big into the arts. So I did photography, fine arts, painting, like all of the kind of artsy projects. Photography was my main one though. I did that every year and I loved it.
Do you still do photography?
I still do,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. What type of things do you like to photograph?
Mostly portraits, but I started after I took a photography class, my sophomore year of high school. I started to get like more of an understanding on how it actually works and all the buttons on the camera and just more technical things. So I did these, I don't know what you would even call it anymore, that you put it on a really long shutter speed so that everything's blurry and it's
Okay.
kind of
All right.
abstract
Yeah.
too.
Okay. Do you have one of those fancy expensive cameras you use?
By fancy
Yeah.
and expensive, I bought one on Black Friday years
Hmm.
back,
Hmm.
just like a starter kit, but
Does the job though.
yeah.
Yeah. So do you do nature as well? Get out in Martin County. So many. I like to do that actually. Just get out in Martin County, take a little drive, take some pictures. Do you do that?
Occasionally, not as much as I want to,
Hmm.
but
So Miss Martin County, what? So after you won, anything that surprised you about any responsibilities about Miss Martin County?
it's pretty straightforward. When you get Miss Martin County, you know the events you have to go. Well, you have to go to everything
Right.
and the fair. I wasn't aware, I guess, that the truck and tractor pull, it's
Yeah.
like after the fair.
Okay.
But I actually had the best time doing
Hmm.
that too. And I got to get up top during it and kind of
Hmm.
announce and
Yeah.
everything.
You didn't get to drive though.
I didn't get
No.
to drive.
All right. Maybe someday. Well, what was the best part about being Miss Martin County?
Um, Really, I just learned a lot more about 4-H, and I learned about um, really how difficult it is to run a fair.
Hmm.
It's not as easy as you may think. Like, because I was thinking, what are ways we can improve the fair? What are ways we can bring more people in? But a lot of it takes so many volunteers. So it's really not as easy as it may sound because then you
Yeah.
need all these volunteers to make everything run. But I also got to learn, all of the kids and the livestock. They did so great showing their animals. Some
Hmm.
were so small, the big old
I
cow
know.
standing next to him. I was
I
like, oh
know.
my goodness. But they
But
did
that's
so
their
great.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, how many parades did you get to participate in after Miss Martin County?
I I actually couldn't even tell you. I did a lot locally. I did the most recent one I did was the Christmas parade in
Hmm.
Shoals.
Okay.
So that was fun. Cold, but it was fun.
Yeah, you didn't do the Lagodi Christmas parade?
I couldn't know I was at school
Okay.
during that time.
Okay. All right. So then between Miss Martin County and the Indiana State Fair Queen Pageant, which would have been about 6 months later, what did you do? What responsibility did you have to get ready for the State Fair Queen Pageant?
Yeah. So I kind of touched on this in the radio
Hmm.
interview, but as soon as I was announced to Miss Martin County, one of the judges that was there for the Queen pageant, she came up to me after. Her name was Laura Duncan. She's the mother of Claudia Duncan, the 2021 Miss Indiana State Fair Queen. She came up to me and she was like, Maya, I see something in you that I think if you give it your best shot and you prepare, you're going to do phenomenal at the state fair. And I think from that moment, it just clicked in my mind like, okay, I'm just as qualified as anyone else for this. So I'm going to try really
Hmm.
hard.
Yeah. Did you ask, what do you see?
But I get, I guess I should have. But no, I asked like, she asked if she could help me like prepare for it and I was
Hmm.
like, oh my goodness, please, like, because I don't know what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Before, for Miss Martin County, like I didn't even know how to wear pantyhose.
Hmm.
I put it like my socks over. It was a whole thing. If you were there for Miss Martin County, you'll
So,
know.
so if Laura Duncan wouldn't have said that, you and your family would have kind of been on your own?
Yeah,
Or they don't assign anybody to help you?
no, they don't.
Wow,
And
that's
I
a great gesture.
Yeah, and I think at that point, if she didn't say anything, I would have went in with the same mindset that everyone has. Like, there's so many people, and I'm from Martin County. I'm not going anywhere, so I'm
Hmm.
just gonna have fun,
Hmm.
which is great, to have fun. But nobody walks in there with the mindset, hey, I'm qualified and I'm gonna do my best to win.
Yeah.
But I did, and it paid off. I got fourth runner up. So
Yeah, you sure did. I was telling Maya that my niece, Emily Bateman, now Emily Bateman Duval, was Miss Martin County a few years ago, and you said you got to meet her this past year.
yeah, I did.
Yeah,
She
so
was so sweet.
she's very sweet, and but we had the experience also of going up and watch Emily at the fairgrounds, and it's a really neat thing, really is. But so let's talk a little bit about um, the weekend of. So do they bring you up and put you up at a hotel, or what's the logistics of the weekend?
Okay, so you get in there Friday morning. And I was first for the whole thing. So,
Yeah, so all of a sudden, I mean, for whatever reason, they picked your contestant number one,
yes.
Miss Martin County. And is that a random?
Yeah, they just draw it out of a hat and they
Mhm.
post on Facebook, like, the order. And I remember the night before they said, "Oh, we're gonna do the drawing." I sat there talking to my friends. Wouldn't that be funny if they drew me first? And the next day I was drinking my coffee in the morning, scrolling through Facebook,
Mhm.
and it's like, contestant number one, Martin County. I was like, no way.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of 82, because you said even though there's 92 counties, some counties do not have a state fair or state fair contestant, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So from there, you're contestant number one. So that's a good start to see
Yeah.
that. Then what happens?
So then you get there Friday morning. I got there all ready to go, not dressed, but I had my hair and my makeup done. So you get there and you check in, and they give you your little contestant number pin that you wear the entire weekend and your sash that says Martin County. And they make it so that every county has the same exact sash, so you're all kind of uniform.
Mhm.
Um, but then you get there, and it's 1 through 20, stay in this big room with a bunch of bunk beds, and you stay there for like the 2 nights.
Oh, okay. How was that experience?
It was good. I met so many like lovely people that I
Mhm.
still talk to every day now, which I know it's not been that long, but
Mhm.
um, it's just really great. I made a lot of friends, except for the one night where a girl had her alarm set for like 5:30 in the morning, and we didn't have to get it till we were 8, and I was like, "What in the world is going on right now?"
So,
The alarm just kept
did she wake
going.
up everybody?
Yeah.
I bet she didn't win, did
N-
she? No.
no.
Okay. But it's not like these movies we're seeing where everybody's so competitive and doing anything to win. You guys really enjoyed each other's company, right?
Yeah, we did. Because my mom kept asking that too. She's like, "Are there any mean girls
Yeah,
there?"
yeah.
And really, no. I didn't meet a
Mhm.
single person there that was like rude or anything like
Mhm.
that.
Well, when you think about it and think about you being selected for Miss Martin County, there are qualities that they pick
Mm.
for a county queen, and typically it's somebody who's very friendly, who's very personable. So, well, you were in the bunk with 20 of those, right?
Yeah.
So that was a good experience for you. Um, did you make any friends that you have today that you never met before that weekend?
Yeah, of course I have a lot. I know that so Johnson County, her name is Grace. She won Miss Congeniality. She's very sweet. I didn't meet her until like the very end. But there's also LaPorte County, who again I didn't meet until top 10, where we were all freaking out getting dressed
Yeah.
together. But the girl who slept right beside me, her name was Trinity from Delaware County.
Mhm.
And she helped me with everything. I needed help with my hair, she fixed
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I needed help steaming my
Mhm.
dress, she helped me with that
Were
too.
you a nervous wreck? Are you that
Yeah.
type? Were you?
Yes,
Okay.
I was a serious perfectionist. I was going in steaming every single crease
Mhm.
like for 10 minutes before
Now,
anything.
can
And
your mother be around during that time?
mm-mm.
No,
As
no.
soon as they drop you off, you can't have any contact. They used to have at the state fair where um, you could have like one chaperone with you that could, and some girls would pick like hair and makeup artists and stuff to do all that. But
Mhm.
they got rid of that because it's just too crowded and it wasn't fair because some people could afford these really elaborate people to
Right.
come in and help. And
Okay. So the day of consists of what? I'm sure you probably go to breakfast together, right? Things like that.
yes. So Friday morning when you get there and you check in, you have orientation where they just kind of explain what's going to happen. And then right after lunch, you have your 3 interviews, and it's 3 judges, one at a time, for 3 minutes. And so you do each of those interviews, and then it's back to back. You're just walking in a line to each room. And then you go into the room with 3 judges, 3 new judges that are going to listen to you give your speech. And after that, they kind of have their idea of who top 16 is right after that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. How nervous were you in those interviews?
I was so nervous. Not as nervous in the interviews, just because with pageantry, I've had a lot of
Mhm.
experiences talking to people. And of course, you're nervous when you first sit down, but then you start talking and
Yeah.
it goes
What
away.
was the most interesting question they asked you in the interview?
Um,
Anything stand out?
One stood out because it was hard.
Mhm.
But the judge said, "Oh, I see you're in Phi Delta Epsilon, the pre-medical fraternity here on campus." I said, "Yes." She goes, "Yeah, and they support diversity, equity, inclusion, correct?" Correct. And she goes, "How do you implement diversity into your own life?"
Oh,
And that was one I was not prepared for.
yeah.
I sat there, I was like, I don't really remember exactly what I said, but
Mm.
kind of to the point of deflecting a little and saying, yeah, diversity is really important because it offers all these different perspectives from these people who you wouldn't normally get perspective from. Um, and just talked about my life, like how I'm at IU, one of the most diverse campuses around,
Mhm.
and just all that kind of thing. But that kind of stumped me.
Did you go out of there feeling confident, or did you go out of there feeling, ugh, I wish I would have said something else?
Yeah, I kind of walked out and I said, ugh,
Hmm.
I wish I would have changed my answer or something.
Don't you
But
think every one of those 82 girls kind of felt the same thing about one question or another?
yes, because when we all got out, all the girls were like, "What they ask you? What they ask you?"
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
But they're
it's
asking different questions
yeah,
of everybody, right?
mostly
Hmm.
yes. But really, they asked this one judge in particular. He was the male. I don't remember his name, but it's really cool because he's also a judge for like American Idol, America's Got
Oh,
Talent. I know,
okay.
it was crazy. And
It's not
he,
Simon Cowell, by the way.
no, no, not him. But he asked every single girl the same question. See this catalog? And it was all of our faces in it. He was like, "There's hardly any diversity in here. Like, what do you think about that? What would you do about that?" He asked every girl that same
Hmm.
question.
Okay.
So that was something that was really important to him. And I remember all the girls were like, "I wasn't expecting that. I was freaking
Yeah.
out." But I was the same way. So I think all of us were just in the same, kind of situation where we weren't expecting it.
Yeah.
So
So they bring all 82 young women on stage, and what happens from there?
so after we all get on stage, they pretty much get like right into it. They say, okay, our top 16
Oh, okay.
are, and they said, we're going to say it in a random order. So if you get called number one, it doesn't mean you're the best or the worst. It's just a random order.
Hmm.
So they go, and top 16 first, Martin County.
Yeah.
And I was like, woo! I
That's out
walked
of the
down
way.
there.
Hmm.
Yeah. I walked down there all happy.
Hmm.
And then after they call all top 16, you all walk off stage and you have to run. You have to run off stage and get dressed and ready because you're giving your speech right after that. So that was pretty stressful.
So you come back on stage, you give your speech to the entire audience, obviously to the
Yes.
judges as well, and your speech is on what?
I basically talked about the first time I went to the Indiana State Fair, I saw these honeybees, and I've never really seen them before. And the really cool thing about honeybees is that they're so small, they don't think they can make a difference in this world, but they're the reason that life is sustained. And they create like honey for all to enjoy. So I kind of compared that with like altruism and how, you know, kindness is contagious. And also kindness, like it helps you too, makes
Hmm.
you happy doing it.
Yeah. So this was a 1 minute speech,
Yes.
and you had told me in our radio show that you rehearsed it, you were fine when you got out there. Wasn't exactly as you rehearsed it, but it worked out okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's one line where I was getting there and I was like, so the thing about bees is because I just, I missed the line, but like it didn't matter.
No,
Nobody could notice
no.
because I replaced it with something in my head and got right back on track.
Yeah. So then they announced top 10.
Yeah, and the funny story that I was saying on the radio was that after you give your speech, and I'm contestant one, so I can't watch anybody to see how they did it first.
Yeah.
I'm thrown out there
Yeah.
for
So the
everything.
advantage is you get yours, you're done, but now you haven't seen anybody actually do
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah. So they're like, okay, so now you're gonna give your speech. You're gonna go out there. So I go, I give my speech, how it was, and I thought you just walk to the end of the stage and you stand there all pretty and wait for them to say, "Thank you, Maya," and you can walk off.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I was standing there, and he just kept talking, and the MC goes, "Martin County, are you gonna walk on the runway?" And I was like, in my head, I was so embarrassed. I was like, why would you say that in front of everyone? Why would you say that? But I was like, oh, of course I will walk on the runway. I didn't know I could.
Uh,
And so
that's good. You're
yeah.
laying the blame on them now.
So
Yeah.
I walk on the runway and I walk back and thank you, Maya, and I wave and I walk off and I get there and I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
goodness, beating myself up over it. And I'm talking to the past queens because there were several there that were helping us kind
Mhm.
of get ready. And I'm talking to the past ones, and I'm like, I feel stupid. And they're like, no, you recovered so well. And
Yeah.
it just kind of shows how flexible you are for
Yeah.
doing that kind of thing. So we get back all out there, all 16 of us, when we're done. And they say, okay, top 10. And then they call Martin
Mhm.
County. And I lit up. I was like,
Yeah.
no way. Because
Mhm.
now that it's top 10, this is it. Like, this is where they're going to announce the winner. And like, I have a shot. Um, but for top 10, you have to hurry up, change back into your dress, and then they ask you an onstage word question where backstage you draw this word, it's taped up, you can't see it,
Okay.
and then you carry it to Queen Alyssa. She was this 2022
All
queen.
right.
You pass it to her, and then she opens it on stage and goes, okay. And she goes, Maya, your word is flexibility. And I seriously, when I was saying that the grace of God was just watching over me because I was so nervous about that
Mm-hmm.
word, thinking it wasn't going to be a word I
Right.
knew. But I got flexibility and it was just automatic. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's so important to be flexible in all aspects of your life because you never know what's going to come your way. And I was like, for example, when I was walking on stage, like I'm flexible, luckily, because I wasn't sure if I was supposed to walk on the runway or not.
Yeah.
But I looked over and I saw the judges cracking up.
Oh,
over
they like
that.
that, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they not? I guess they can't anticipate, hey, if you get top 10, here's what you're going to do.
Yeah. So practice was really hard
They didn't
because
do
they don't
that.
know. Yeah.
Okay. And you being the first one, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
I'd have gone up there and you just looked all pretty and say, hey, thank you very much. What's next, right?
Yeah.
Well, that was great. All right. So now they announce you as top 10. From there, you stay on stage and they finish, or do you? No, you went off
And
stage.
went off.
Okay.
Yeah, because we
Okay.
all go on stage one at a time to
Okay.
do our word and
Mm-hmm.
our speech and all that. But after everyone was done with their word, and of course at this point we're all just we can't believe it, none of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
So all of us were like backstage, like cheering on the other girls, and
Mm-hmm.
it was so supportive. It was such a good atmosphere to be around. But once everyone's done, they're like, okay, we're gonna welcome everyone back on stage. So top 10 stand in the front, and everyone else is like back behind, and they announce Miss Congeniality first. So you don't have to be top 10 to get Miss Congeniality.
Okay.
Martin County was Miss Congeniality last year, which was really incredible.
Yeah.
Um, so after Miss Congeniality, they go fourth runner-up, third, second, first, and the Queen. And they call my name for fourth runner-up, and I
Yeah.
just like couldn't believe it. I was happy crying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you could have been one of the other five, I guess, which still would have been unbelievable.
Yeah.
But your name is at least in the top five.
Yes.
And to our knowledge, Martin County's never advanced that far. Is that your understanding?
Yeah.
Yeah. So was your family in attendance?
Yeah. My
Yeah.
parents were all in the front row.
Front row.
Yes. Sitting right there in the front row. And after everything, I'm like looking over at them. And there's a picture that my sister sent to me where my mom and my dad both have their phones out like this. And it's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
But I just know it was a really big deal, especially for my dad,
Sure.
because the whole speech, it was kind of about him. Like, my dad and I raised honeybees. Like, I wouldn't have been
Oh.
around bees if it wasn't for my dad.
Okay.
So
That's where you got your interest. Okay.
yeah, so he was so excited,
Mm-hmm.
sitting there smiling the whole time on his little phone.
Right.
But yeah, and we have this little thing that Dad, if you're watching this, he thinks it's so cute.
Dad's watching.
But it's like I love you to the moon and back. So he goes like this. He goes, and so I'm supposed to go like this back, like to the moon and back. And so he's like, hey, if you win, you're gonna do that, right? You're gonna go like this after I do it. And I was like, okay. Not thinking I was even gonna get close to winning. And so when I got fourth runner up, we're standing there and I see Dad go like that, and I'm like,
Oh,
this back
yeah.
to him. It was cute.
What a great weekend it
Yeah.
had to have been. So since then, it all stops. You just come back to school. Is that right?
I mean, yeah, in a way.
But you did say
Basically,
during the state fair, you also have a responsibility coming up, right?
yeah. So fourth runner up, all of the runners ups, and the Queen are part of Queen's Court.
Mm-hmm.
So I will get to go one Sunday at the state fair where the whole Queen's Court, like, top 5 get together and they walk around the state fair together and they get to just experience the fair. So that'll be fun. It'll give me like a little taste of, what it was like to be queen, but
Yeah.
without all that responsibility now.
Yeah. Can you imagine, or have you even thought already, next summer, you're crowning the new queen, but before you do that, you've got a final speech, right?
Yeah.
And it's usually pretty emotional, but I can imagine yours, with the unbelievable experience that you've had, will be maybe a little extra emotional, you think?
Yeah, I have thought
You thought
about
about that
that.
already?
Yeah. Just because the fact that, a lot of people from Martin County, and this was the big thing I pushed and advocated for in all my interviews and my speech, was that Martin County is such a small county. It's actually ranked 87 out of the 92 counties by population.
Got to be somewhere.
Yeah, it is very tiny. And so all of these, young kids, girls, they don't see themselves capable of doing all these great, huge things. So I know my speech will probably be around like, just believing in yourself,
Hmm.
pushing yourself, because you're actually capable of anything, despite where you come from, or
Yeah.
um, and I'm living proof
Yeah.
after that.
Well, Maya, I like to give the guests kind of a form, just anything that we didn't talk about, something maybe you thought I might ask or should have asked or wanted to ask, or just thank yous, but anything at all. What would you have to say to people?
Well, first, I would say now currently after the whole, state fair thing is off my chest, and because that
Yeah,
was a really stressful experience
sure.
getting prepared and all that. But now that all that's done, I'm focusing on school. Like I said, I'm here at Indiana University,
Majoring in,
human biology.
which means you'd like to do what?
I'm on the pre-med track. I will, after I graduate as a human biology major with a minor in psychology, I'm going to be an obstetrician gynecologist. I'll be
Wow.
a doctor one of these days.
Wow. One of
Yeah.
these days might be a while down the road, right? You prepared for that?
Yeah. But
You're in your
so,
sophomore year now?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a really busy
Yeah.
semester, a lot ahead of me.
Can I ask you what got you interested in that field to
So,
begin with?
yeah. So I always knew I wanted to do something in the health field. I just wasn't sure like what yet.
Okay.
But I decided on doctor and I decided on obstetrician gynecologist. When I saw my little cousin, um, I went to all of her ultrasound appointments. I went to all the doctor's appointments. I drove her mom there the day
Hmm.
that she had this emergency C-section, and it was just all so fascinating to me that you're literally watching this little human like
Yeah.
grow and grow and grow and form,
Hmm.
and it was just it was incredible to see that for me. So I knew I wanted to do that, and especially I think it's really important to have women in that kind of field too. There's a lot of different studies. I brought this up in my interview too. Um, but there's a lot of different studies. One from the Washington Post, they made an article that women are 20% more sensitive to pain than men, therefore more likely to express it, and they're not taken as seriously for anything.
Okay.
So, a lot of these pains that women feel, they're like, it's supposed to be like that. It
Hmm.
happens. It's a tummy ache. Um, and they get misdiagnosed a lot with all
Okay.
these serious problems.
Okay.
So I
Well,
think, yeah,
yeah.
that's a really big deal that I
Anything else?
thank you,
Yeah.
everyone of Martin
Yeah.
County, for supporting me through everything. I had so many
Hmm.
lovely people reach out and just say congrats, and it was so nice. And my parents who did everything for
Yeah.
me too.
Hmm.
So
Well, congrats.
thank you
Thank
so
you. You
much.
did Martin County very proud.
Thank you.
Maya Miller, we'll see you next summer at the Martin County Queen. Maya Miller, Miss Martin County, and the reigning Miss Martin County, and fourth runner-up in this year's Indiana State Fair Queen Pageant. We've gotten to know her a little bit. Hope you enjoyed it on getting to know your Indiana neighbor. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.